temperatures, or these curves here. Basically, the main conclusion from our study was that the analysis which can tell us something about the importance of the different factors, the solar forcing cannot explain more than a small fraction of the warming. You really need greenhouse gases in order to describe most of this. The climate models indicate that the air temperature over the tropics increase faster at higher levels than near the surface. But if the temperature varies at different rates in the atmosphere over time, then the vertical temperature gradient, which I talked about earlier, will change. But this vertical temperature profile is well known in meteorology as a lapse rate. And we can explain changes in the lapse rate in terms of changes in humidity and circulation. Basically, this temperature profile in the tropics tells us something about the hydrological cycle, and it's related to the whole thing with clouds and the heat release and everything. The models give a large spread or give a large spread when they describe both the water vapor and also the circulation and rainfall patterns. So there's a fairly large ambiguity in how this is modeled in the climate models, and that's well known, and that's also stated in the IPCC, which says that the cloud feedback represents the most uncertain aspect of climate modeling. Do the models agree with the observations? A recent paper by Douglas et al. 2007, on which Dr. Singer was a co-author, argues that it's not a good correspondence between the models and the real world. This figure is figure 1 from their paper, and the red curves here show their analysis of the IPCC models. The lower curve shows the lower range of the models, and the upper curve shows the upper level, the higher range of their models. But I took the actual model values here, the warming rates, at one height, 300 hectopascal, and plotted it for hand on top here. And you see that the differences between the individual models is much larger than this range here. So basically, 11 of these models here fall outside the range which is estimated for the same group of models. Basically, this shows that there's a logical flaw in this analysis. And this analysis basically is based on inappropriate statistics, and the conclusions drawn from this analysis are not valid because the models do actually embrace, or they actually cover the observations. Another point is that the recent observations now show that there's even greater warming at the heights here, based on wind measurements. So the balance of evidence can be summarized by this figure here, showing the time evolution of a temperature and the different forcings. And it's only the greenhouse gases which show increased forcing. We cannot explain the recent warming in terms of the solar activity because there hasn't been any changes. And if there have been any changes, it has gone the opposite direction. So I think I'll just finally finish off with one slide showing a very crude model. You know that the models can never be perfect, but they can be useful, and they can also show the main features, and they can teach us about how things work together and interconnect, and where the pieces fall to places. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for your speech, Rasmus. And I'm very sorry that I said that you were a member of the Institute of Psychics. You're a member of the Institute of Physics. It may be that I'm a member of the Institute of Psychics, but that's another story. But I want to introduce the next speaker now, and I'm very proud to introduce Professor Emeritus Fred Singer. He was professor in environmental science at the University of Virginia for 23 years, I think. You have to correct me if I'm wrong. And he was also the director of the National Weather Bureau's Satellite Service Center, and he has been special advisor on space development for President Eisenhower. Take a picture, my mother told me yesterday, and I told her that I'm just going to meet one of Eisenhower's advisors. He is today president for the Science and Environmental Policy Project, and he has also been an author of the report Climate Change Reconsidered, released by the Non-Governmental International Panel on Climate Change. That's even longer than my party's first name. Okay, thank you. I want to introduce Singer then.
Ja, tack. Mina damer och herrar, kära vänner. Jag ska försöka presentera min föredrag på norsk. Det är min första dag i Norge. Jag tror jag ska fortsätta på engelska. I think it'd be better. So, this is our conclusion of a group of independent scientists. You will notice that our conclusion is directly opposite to that of the IPCC. We are a non-governmental international panel consisting of about 30 scientists from about 20 nations. We volunteer this service. We're not paid for this. We are glad to have found a publisher who will publish our work, and it is available on the internet for free.
No, you have to pay for it.
But you can also buy it from the publisher. He'll be glad to sell it to you. The title of our summary report gives our conclusion. I want to point out to you that the IPCC has a long history now, having published 4 reports. They, of course, are supported by their governments in various ways. Their summary is what most people read, is prepared by a small group, and many of their names of this group have become very famous because of recent revelation that their emails have been, shall we say, some people say stolen, some people say released. Anyway, you can read them, and investigations of various sorts are now going on to find out how and in what way they cooperated to present their conclusion. These are the 2 reports.